we go live now because it's just preparing the live stream, and then we're going to wait for a couple of more minutes before we start. We're going to be a small group today because the majority of us are in Barcelona skiing at the conference, but they're actually skiing. All right, cool. I think we are live on YouTube. Let's wait like one more minute, and then and Martha, you can start then.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm gonna share the link
Right.
of the paper I'm presenting. Let me see if I can. Yes, here. Wait. The text. So here is the link of the paper.
Perfect. E-life that time, not a nature paper. We have a strong bias towards nature
because
papers
it's a
here.
very interesting paper that is related to what I'm doing now in my project. So
You would have had to read it anyways. Why not present it to all of us?
Exactly, a win-win.
All right. Do you want to start sharing your screen then, so we can already have a first look? I think I need to allow that. Perfect. Hey, Hervé is going to join as well. Okay. And Eduardo. Eduardo is not skiing? Where is he? Cool. Hi, Hervé. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Eduardo. And Chris. Hey, it's full house. And Muga. Hey, I'm so excited. I thought we're gonna be like, which would have not been bad, right?
The two of us.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I really thought it's gonna be like Marcia and me. Hi, Chris. Good morning, Muga. All right. The group of non-skiers has gathered now. Who are not in Barcelona. Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. And welcome to Neuroccino, our online journal club happening every given Monday at 9:30. Yeah, actually, I don't even know what Marcia is presenting, but Marcia is presenting. So without any further ado, take it away, Marcia.
Thank you very much. I will just send the link again to the paper for the news, the new ones that arrived to the meeting. So yeah, thank you very much for coming today for this Neuroccino. So I'm going to present this paper entitled Mapping Patterns of Thought onto Brain Activity During Movie Watching. So I chose this paper because it's very related to what I'm doing in my project now. It's a very interesting paper. So we are going to look at it now. So in this paper, the idea was to try to explore what are the brain dynamics, the brain patterns during while participants or during while people are watching different contents in a movie. So as actually they very well described in the introduction, it's very difficult to try to explore the dynamics of the brain activity when participants are watching a film, and at the same time to understand what are the thoughts during the movie, because either you have to stop them during the movie to try to ask them what they are feeling or how do they what they are thinking at this moment during the movie, or there is a not very technique that developed technique or method in order to explore immediately, or a very immediately way, right, to explore what are the dynamics while participants are watching this movie. So they developed a new method that I'm gonna show you here. So this is a method that actually considers two different groups. Why they are able to do that? Because while participants are watching a movie, it has been shown that there is a synchronization in the brain activity across different participants, across people. So what they did, they took the data from one group of participants while they were watching different movies into the fMRI. And at the same time, they developed a new method that is, sorry, I'm moving this here, that is multidimensional experience sampling, where they had another group of 120 participants, and they made them watch the same movies, but this time in front of a computer. And so it was three different movies. Each one had 10 minutes of movie, and every 2 minutes, participants were stopped in the movie and were asked about their feelings, their thoughts until that point of the movie. So at the moment where they stopped the movie, they were asked with a scale to say, I don't know, how much they were thinking about themselves or about the future concern. So really different questions that we can look at them later if you want. And with these 120 participants, what they did, they took different seconds of difference. So they didn't stop the movie for all participants at the same time, but they stopped the movie 5 times for each participant. But this period of time, or the second where they stopped the movie, was different across participants. So they could have the information across all the movies and all the different points during the movie. So having said that, this is a very general view of the study that that I'm gonna present. So the first part where we see this data set, we can see, as I already mentioned, we have the two groups. One were into the scanner watching the movie. The second group was in the room, and they were watching the movie, sit on their lab, and answering these different questions. And then they explored two different dimensions. So first it was the thought during the movie, and then they explore at the brain level. I will show you this later. And then also they ran a last analysis. They explore also these different dimensions at multidimensional spaces that I will mention later as well. So here I want you to focus only in the part of the thought, because this is not shown in another figure. So I will explain this with this figure. So as I already mentioned, they were presented with three different movies. The three movies were Citizen 4, so that is a documentary, Miss Little Sunshine, that is a comedy, and 500 Days of Summer, that is more like a drama. And so then they had these different questions. And what they did, they ran a PCA, and with the different responses, the different results from this multidimensional sampling. And this PCA results in 4 different components. These different components were named by the authors in these 4 different categories. So the different thoughts that they identified during the movies were first related to episodic knowledge. And you can see in red the concepts that were highly associated with this moment of thought, with these patterns during the movie. And in blue, the ones that were negatively associated to this during the patterns that were not associated with this thoughts during the movie. And then you have a second component that was related to intrusive distraction, then a third one with verbal details, and then a fourth one with sensory engagement. So once they identify these 4 different patterns of thought, they analyze this data in different ways. So I will show you one of the analyses they run. So they use mixed model in order to identify how these patterns were different across the different movies. So here what they identify, so we have color code, the different movies. In green, we have the documentary, then the comedy in green, no, in yellow, sorry. And then we have in purple, the drama. So we can see here what they found is that during the documentary, there was a higher pattern of intrusive distraction compared to the other two movies. And then they found that during that two other components that are the episodic knowledge and I think verbal details, yes, were different between the Little Miss Sunshine and 500 Days of Summer. So it's mostly a description of these results. What they identify is that probably in the documentary, participants tended to be more distracted compared to the movies. That is reflected by this component of intrusive distraction. And then that in this movie, in one of these movies, and 500 Days of Summer, they really need to be more focused, or they related this movie maybe with their life, their past, also to follow the knowledge of during the movie, the different people that appear in the movie. So it seems that the Little Miss Sound was like more, relaxed during the while participants were just watching. So other results that they described was that after the movies, they were asked for different questions about the movies. So to explore how attentive they were or how well they understand the movie. So they were asked with different questions about the movie, and they had a lower results for the Citizen 4. So they were less accurate. So they related these results with the idea that during this movie, that was a documentary, participants tended to be more distracted, and it results in people giving more incorrect response regarding to the content of the movie. And then another pattern that they identified during this is across the different movies, is that there was what was it? Yes. So the accuracy. So there was a lower accuracy when they were more distracted, and there was higher accuracy when they presented higher patterns of sensory engagement. So this is something that they observe across the different movies. Again, this is very descriptive about how the different thoughts during the movie were different across them. And what they did after, they tried to explore how the different patterns change at each time point during the movie. So this is, in the left, we can see here some of the examples of how they had to respond during every 2 minutes, right, when they stop the movie. This is in the part of the experiment where they stay in the lab watching the movies. And so then they use these scores, but first for running this PCA that I mentioned, and where they describe these 4 different kind of thoughts. And also they were able to describe the patterns, this time series for each time point across participants. So why this is important? Because then this data was used to be explored in comparison to the brain activity. So from here, what is important is that they just describe, as they mentioned before, which are the patterns that increase in a movie compared to the others. I don't think it's something relevant to mention here regarding the patterns. So I want to go to the results with brain because of the time. And so, as I mentioned, right, they created this time series for each time point for each of the movies, and they run they use this information as a regressor of interest in order to explore the brain activity during the different movies. So what we see here is this is an exploration at the voxel level. So what we can see here are the voxels, so the brain activity in different voxels that were associated to an increase or decrease of these different types of thought during the movie. So what they found is that an increase of patterns of episodic knowledge was associated with an increase of brain activity into the dorsal visual cortex. So we can see here in red, then a higher intrusive distraction pattern. So when people was more distracted, it was related to a decrease of activity in these regions, frontal regions that are associated or that are part of the overlap with the frontal parietal network, so more control. For the verbal detail, they found that when participants had higher patterns of verbal details, it was associated with a decrease of activity in the primary auditory cortex. And then for the sensory engagement, they found that it was related with an increase in the visual and auditory cortex. So what they describe here is that in general, the different dynamics or the different changes during the movie, so across these different states of thoughts, was related mostly with an activation or decrease of activity in more sensory cortex. And that the only one that was not identified in this primary cortex was related to this moment of distractions, and that was related to more control networks, where it has been demonstrated before in some papers that you really need this control activity in order to keep the focus on something that you are doing. So these goal are related objectives. So this is another of the analysis they ran at the brain level. So what they wanted to explore is that, okay, so we identified these different regions, and what are the main functions, let's say, of these regions that overlap for the different kind of thoughts. So what they explore is the regions that overlap, that were in common for the different patterns of thought. So they explore this occipital part, that was related with an increase of sensory engagement and episodic knowledge. And they went to look at the neuroscience in order to identify which are the main concepts that has been described in relation to the activation of this part of the brain. And also they did the same with this overlapping region that was related with an increase in sensory engagement and a decrease in the verbal details pattern of thought. And what they identify is that most of these concepts are actually related to some concepts that are part of movie watching. So for this region in green, they found the pitch, noise, sound, auditory stimuli perception. And then for the one in red, videos, pointing, gestures, visual stimuli. So they really identify that these activations can be related with the kind of stimuli that participants are watching. So I think this is, then using an external data of fMRI in resting state, but they try to explore which are the regions that are connected, functionally connected to these regions of interest. And what they identify is that they actually, so in yellow, we can see the regions that are in common, that are part of the same network in this functional connectivity analysis. So what they identify is that actually these two regions are part of a same network. So this is one of the last results. So what I presented before was these results at the voxel levels, where they identified the brain activity related to the thought. But then what they wanted to explore is this last analysis that is very interesting. I hope I can explain it well. So what they did, they tried to create the different space. So the first one is the thought space. So what we can see here is the reduction of this data based on the different components. So what they did, they identified for the different time points the loading for each of these components. Yes. So we can see here that they took, as an example, the episodic knowledge, verbal detail, and sensory engagement. And what we can see in blue are the time points at the beginning of the movie, and then it's becoming red when it's going at the moment of the end of the movie. So this is the location for the thought space based on the components after the PCA. And for the brain below, we can see that they use these gradients that have been described from the work of Daniel Margulis, where they identify how the different, so I will just read it because I think it's easier the way they explain it. Where is this? So yeah, what they did, they projected the brain activity for each of the volumes, so for each time point during the movie, and they projected this activity against this first 5-dimensional brain activity. So yeah, is that the composition of the resting state activity, where they describe how the different functional connectivity in the brain is organized in the brain. So what in this paper, I would recommend you to, if you want more details about it, to read it, or after at some point to discuss with Anna, who will be expert, to because this is, yeah, based on functional connectivity, they look at the organization of the patterns of the different organization of the brain at the brain level. And what they identify is different gradients that are organized from different, from some specific or more general regions. So for instance, the gradient 1, it has an organization that goes from a primary association, primary brain region of the brain to more association regions of the brain. Then there is the second gradient that is going from the vision to the motor areas. Then there is a third gradient that is going from to the frontoparietal network to the default mode network. And then there is a fourth one that is from the dorsal attention to the visual, I think, yes. So they use these gradients to explore how this brain activity that they observe during the movies is represented more in one of these gradients or to the others. So they do that exactly to have this brain space as they build the one for the thought. So we can see here visually the two different components, one for thought, one for brain, and then they run a new analysis. I will not explain the result from this one, so in the right, just because it's not very clear to me, because there's something in the text that is not the same as in the figure. So I will just go to the last one that I think is the important one, because it's actually the significant. So what they identify is that there is the sensory engagement thought was related to the first gradient. So what they did, they I will start again. So we can see here in the first one, I will talk about the first one only. We can see here that the sensory engagement was related to the gradient 1. So it means that they found the relationship between the two spaces that they explored, the thought space for sensory engagement and the brain space for the gradient 1. So here we can see the representation of the first gradient, and in the right we can see the voxel activations that were related also with the sensory engagement. So what they did, they ran an analysis that is called spin analysis. I'm not very familiar with that, but what it means is what is the probability that these regions that are activated in the voxel-based analysis actually fall into the gradient 1, and that is related to the sensory engagement, and this is not by chance. that is significant. And actually, it was significant for this relationship where they identify that actually, when there is a higher sense of engagement during the movie, there is a higher activation in these visual cortex that are part of the gradient one, and that this is statistically significant. I'm sorry if it's not clear. We can discuss later if it's not.
Marcel, we need to go on to the discussion because we don't
Yes,
have any time
I
left.
think that's
So
it. That's it. Actually, that's one of the main conclusions, that actually during the movies you need really sensory engagement across like different parts of the brain in order to yeah, that this is one of the main conclusions of the paper, the importance of this experience, multidimensional experience, engagement, and multisensory factors during the film.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Marcel, for presenting. We have time for questions and a little discussion. And I already see raised hands, Lilith. Yeah, take it away.
Hi, Marcella, thank you for presenting this paper. I feel like I have a lot of questions, but maybe I just say one to understand better the method that they used, the one that they developed. What was it called? D something? DES?
Multidimensional exploration.
Yeah, I didn't understand. So basically, you said that the movie was stopped at different time points, but
Yes.
for different participants at different time points, and then they were checked what their experience is, what their thoughts are, right? But
Yes.
then isn't it really depend on the person? I can imagine, let's say I'm watching this documentary, or some like a person watching this documentary, and there is another person that is watching the documentary, but the first one has much more experience in the topic, let's say, and they're both watching the same movie, and this one will have thoughts about, I don't know, like some cats and dogs, and this one will have actually some crazy insights, so he connected like with his historical knowledge of this topic and something. So I can guess that there will be different patterns of the brain, and then how do they control for this randomness? And as I understand, they are not even using in mixed model participant as a random effect. They use the movie as a random effect, or I was wrong?
No, they use participant as a random effect. So
okay.
that's one way this is a mixed model where they use participants as a random effect. And so this is the different orders they use for different participants. But what I understood is, okay, so this is the 5 times they stopped the movie. And so for the first minute, it was for everyone completely minute of movie, and then they start stopping. What I understood is that they use actually like a jitter. So it's not that they use this order. What they say is that no participant had the same order, but what I guess is that they use a different jitter, I guess milliseconds. It's not specified from what I read. But what I understood is that this jitter is the one that makes different the difference between participants. And also, as I think Eduardo mentioned in the chat, so is that exactly in the questionnaire, it was really related to, it's in the Word file. I don't think I can share it, but you can look at it. But there is the questionnaire for the different questions. And it's more like I was thinking in myself, or I was thinking about my past. So it's really, and as we can see, and because it's something that I was also thinking about, as they calculate the average across participants, we can see here that, for instance, the max point is between, so you can see the scale between 1 and 10. And if we look at the pattern of the time series when they are average, you can see that the max is 2. So it was really different across participants. So it really takes I agree with you. I guess the basis of this is that while you are watching movies, it's true that the brain patterns of the brain. Synchronization is similar across participants, but yeah, it's true that at the thought level, it can be really personal. And I guess it's very clear here with the time series that the max is 2/10. So yeah.
But also, even if they are using these, I'm not sure, these mixed models and treat a participant as a random effect. But I think that's the situation when you have to do that when there are repeated measures of the same thing, and that's why you choose participant as a random effect to that certain variable. But since it's like different for each participant, I'm not sure if this is okay to do as well. But yeah, this is just a discussion. Maybe we just can go to the next question because it's
Yes, it's already
10.
time.
Sorry. But
All
thank
good,
you
no
again.
worries. No worries, Chris.
Yeah, thank you for presenting this very interesting paper. So a little bit on the same area of questions as Lilith.
Yeah.
The participants, did they had they seen the movies before? Did they control for that? Because I'm expecting that you would change your thoughts if you've already seen the movie.
Yeah,
Like
no.
if you're surprised by the movie.
Yeah, no, I didn't. At least I went through the method. They don't specify that, so I don't think they did control for that. I guess what they no, they don't control. I'm just thinking that
Yeah.
what they highlight is that yeah, one was the documentary, the second one was a comedy, the third one was a drama. So I guess they
Was it always in the same order, by the way? Or did they see the movies in the same session or and in the same order?
I don't remember I read
Because
that.
there's also a lot of studies about like priming of like
I
emotions
know.
and
Yeah.
so that could so yeah I think the issue with this type of study, so of course it's to try to avoid difficulties with because you can't ask the people in the fMRI for their emotions, as you said, like you can't ask for feedback every 5 minutes because also with the feedback they are moving and stuff like that, so it's a mess. So it's to try to avoid some limitations, but with because it's basically a self-reporting experiment. And in social sciences, they have so much problems with that and so much criticism from that because it's self-reporting. So, and we are not very good at reporting, and especially on our emotions, because you have to know you. I mean, I don't know if they have some training before the experiment, but you have to know how to reflect on your emotions on something as simple as movies. Like you can easily think of your emotions on the long term, but like on short movies like that, I don't know how accurate. And I guess it shows in the graphic that you were showing that there is a massive variability. And if you
Yeah.
add to the fMRI viability and the analysis on fMRI viability, I don't know how accurate the
Yeah.
results can be.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess one of the main the strength of the paper is that right they really they are based on okay we are watching the movie, brain activations are similar, okay, that's point. But then exactly regarding the thoughts, the feelings, I agree with you both that actually it's not something that it's similar, I would say, across participants. I was just checking the questionnaire very quickly, and yeah, it's the questions try not to be very specific. Are really okay. My thoughts are involve future events, past events, or they involve images, or they are very detailed and specific, or involve other people. So are really, really more general, I would say. But so maybe if you are interested in this part, they also I remember in the introduction they mentioned some studies that validated or explored this method of multidimensional experience sampling before in other contexts. So maybe you can also look at this, because it's true I didn't have the time to look more about this method in particular, but they mention several references where they have used this before. So yeah, I think it's something interesting to
Could
explore.
it have been interesting to look at it the other way, see if the consistency in the fMRI response was matching the self-reported emotions or like
Yes, I
feelings?
think one of the analyses, if I well remember, the one of the gradients, I think it was the variable of interest was the thought. So
Mm.
they, from the brain activity, they try to predict the thought, and I think
did
this
they
is the
find
one that.
a big correlation or a small one?
No, this is the one that I couldn't explain very well, and I'm sorry about that. And it's because I think it's this one. No, sorry, the previous one. This one, because in the they mention something in the text that is not related to what they show in the figure. So I was confused. So but what this is what they found is that the main effect of gradient 4 with episodic knowledge. So in the moment where the participants had a most similar episodic knowledge, were the moments where there was a high activity in the visual cortex and lower activity in regions of dorsal attention. But yeah, they found these two that were significant only for episodic knowledge and sensory engagement. But then when they run this last analysis, they only found significant effects from brain activity into sensory engagement.
Mm.
So really the main result here is that activation in this primary visual cortex was related with a higher engagement of participants in the movie.
Yeah, so
But yeah.
pretty messy.
Some parts were difficult to follow, but it's very interesting. I think it's a very interesting paper. Also, the analysis with this brain thought space, I think it's very interesting. But yeah, for me, it was more difficult to understand with the gradients. So sorry about that.
You explained it very well, Marcela. Thank you so very much. If there are no other questions, I just see in the chat that Lilith proposed multiple comparison correction or asked whether they did that. That's a yes or no question, Marcela, because we are running out of time.
For the questionnaire? No, for what? They run every time for all analysis, they use correction for multiple comparison.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Marcia, very much for presenting the paper.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody else for participating in the discussion and joining this early on a Monday. Yeah, have an exciting week in science and see you next week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.